Once upon a time there lived a woman who was desperate to have a child. Time passed, and still no baby arrived. So the woman went to an old witch for help. The witch gave her a magic barley grain, which grew into a beautiful tulip. When the petals opened, a tiny girl sat inside. She was called Thumbelina, as she was only as tall as a thumb. She slept in a walnut shell with roses and violets for pillows and blankets. The woman gave Thumbelina a bowl of water and a tulip petal for a boat. But one day, a horrible mother toad crept in through the window and kidnapped her. The toad wanted Thumbelina to marry her nasty, slimy son. So she took her to her house in the middle of a pond and trapped her on a lily pad. But the little pond fishes nibbled through the stem to free the tiny girl. She sailed down the river until a pretty white butterfly fluttered onto her leaf. Thumbelina tied her sash to it and sailed much faster. But then an ugly May-bug swooped down and carried Thumbelina to his home, high in a tree. All the other May-bugs came to stare at her and laugh at her for being ugly, because she only had 2 legs and no feelers. They left her on a daisy, and she spent the summer all alone. In the winter, even the birds flew away, and she nearly froze to death, wrapped only in a withered leaf. Finally, a kind field mouse took her in. She offered her a home in return for telling her stories. The field mouse's neighbour, a mole in a black velvet coat, came to visit. He fell in love with Thumbelina. The mole invited her to his dark, earthy home of long tunnels, where she found a dying swallow. Thumbelina took the bird home and warmed him, and nursed him back to health. By spring, the swallow was strong again, and he offered Thumbelina a ride on his back. But she didn't want to upset the field mouse, so she stayed with her instead. Thumbelina sadly said goodbye to the swallow, and he flew away, far above the treetops. The mole wanted to marry Thumbelina, so the field mouse hired 4 spiders to weave her wedding clothes. By autumn they were ready, and the field mouse told Thumbelina it was time for her wedding day. But the tiny girl cried, because she didn't want to live underground. Farewell, she said to the sun and the flowers. Thumbelina thought she would never see them again, as the mole hated sunshine. Just then she heard a chirping. It was her friend, the swallow. He offered to fly her to warmer countries for winter. She flew on his back to a sunny land, rich with fruit trees and coloured butterflies. There, inside a large white flower, she found a tiny man wearing a golden crown. He was a flower spirit. was handsome and kind, and he soon fell in love with Thumbelina. He asked her to marry him and put his golden crown on her head. Your name shall be Maya, he told her, for Thumbelina is too ugly, and you are so pretty. At the wedding, a fly gave her a pair of silver wings, so she could fly from flower to flower. The swallow was sad to say goodbye to the happy couple, for he loved Thumbelina dearly as his friend. So he flew all over the world, telling the tale of Thumbelina.